I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of our shooting program, and welcome to today's show. Tell you what, friends, we're getting a real break here in Louisiana. We've got some real pretty weather. A little bit windy out here on the range this afternoon. The sun, is not too far from going down. It is such a nice day to be outside doing anything. We do have a great show for you. We're going to look at some guns I think you're going to enjoy. We have several features that we hope you'll find educational and entertaining. You know, we're always talking about carbine ammunition, and this is a Ruger GP100 with a 6-inch barrel in .357 Magnum. And really, this is one of the premier .357s available at any price for that matter. These are strong guns. They tend to be certainly accurate, and they're very serviceable. They're very durable and long lasting. Well, we have 6 rounds of carbine loaded in our chamber, in our cylinder here. So the point is that carbine ammunition works up close like this. Yeah, I believe, like I said, it works up close, but also, I got water on my glasses, also it works real well way out there. So let's see how our water bottle looks out here at 100 yards. See what happens. Well, friends, we're going to look at what is commonly referred to as a pocket pistol today. Maybe we have enough sunlight left. It sure is pretty out here this afternoon. Anyway, in our audio system, occasionally we're getting a Mexican radio station. We do appreciate you folks that watch in Mexico and South America, Central America. But maybe you can understand what they're saying in the background. But due to somebody has some skip in the ionosphere or wherever those radio waves go, we're getting a little bit through our audio system. So if you hear a Mexican radio station, there's a reason for it. It's because they run a 250,000 watt station down there somewhere, and they're bleeding over on everybody up here. Okay, moving right along. This is a Beretta Model 70S in .380 caliber, and these are made similar to the Model 92s that has an open top frame or slide on, and a real nicely made. It's a single action mechanism. These guns are very well machined. They're fairly impressive pieces of equipment actually. It is like the Colt 1911, a single action semi-automatic. Well, this is also a single action semi-automatic, which means the hammer must be cocked and each pull of the trigger will set it off. You don't have the double action stroke that some of the more modern, and I'll use that term loosely, semi-automatics have for the first shot. It has a thumb safety in the same position as the 1911, and really these are very finely made, reliable little guns. If you like small semi-automatics, well, this is one for you to take a look at. However, I'm not sure how I would carry this gun because it does not have a grip safety like a 1911. That's one of the reasons I don't mind carrying a 1911 in the cocked and locked mode, because you do have a grip safety. These guns don't. If this gun is cocked with the safety on, it doesn't take too terrible much to push that safety off, and then of course the gun will fire very easily. So I'm not really sure how I would carry this gun. I'm a little nervous about carrying a single action semi-automatic with one chambered and hammered down. I don't know. In fact, I don't know if this gun has a firing pin lock or not. I'm not sure. We haven't examined it that closely. We have shot it, and accuracy and velocity has been real good with it. One of the advantages a .380 has is a lack of recoil. Of course, to load this gun, you push your safety off, pull the slide all the way back, and let it go, of course. And we have some standard velocity ammunition in it, and the extractor does show there when the gun's loaded, so you have a chamber loaded indicator. Well, let's take a look at it in my hands this afternoon. See, just very little recoil at all, very little. And that's one of the advantages that a little gun like this has. It can be fired rapidly. And of course now it's told us it's ready to be reloaded. It holds 7 in the magazine, has a nice little finger rest on the magazine, which I guess for someone with smaller hands would be fine. But the .380 is a 9mm short, essentially, because it shoots the same diameter bullet as a 9mm, typically a lighter bullet. Those were 95 grain bullets we're shooting. And honestly, I'm not that big a fan of the .380 because you don't have that much shocking power. It's nowhere near that of a strong 9mm or especially a .357 Magnum. However, they are small guns, and looking at our Ruger SP-101, in fact, they're about the same size. Now then, this is full charge 357 Magnum ammunition in our Ruger, and although you get power, you also get more recoil and a bunch more noise. However, for those of us who can handle the 357, or this gun would be terrific with, say, Corbine 38 Specials, which are the really hot 38s, which would still have quite a bit more power than the 380. Now your alternative and your option is Corbine 380, and it has a 90 grain bullet, but that 90 grain bullet moves along in this little gun here at about 1,050 feet per second. So you really get quite a boost from velocity by using the Corbine ammunition. And believe me, the 380 needs all the velocity it can get because it was never designed to be a really high intensity cartridge. Apparently the folks in Europe thought it was a pretty good cartridge because this was a police cartridge for many years in Europe and still is in some places. Maybe they just didn't want to hurt their adversaries too bad if they had to shoot them. But putting the Corbine in here does make quite a difference. You have a considerable amount of power with the Corbine load. See, it took that plate off rather with some authority, believe me. Well, let's take a closer look and I'll show you how the gun works. Now, friends, you can tell the lines. This is, of course, not a new gun loaned to us. It's loaned to us by our good friends at Britton's in Shreveport. It has a lot of levers and it looks to have a lot of bells and whistles. This is the takedown lever here. Push this forward and the slide will come off. You can take the barrel and recoil spring out. Of course, all Berettas that I'm aware of have been very nicely made. This is the magazine release down here on the grip. It has a magazine safety. You can pull the slide back and try and pull the trigger and nothing happens. The magazine has to be inserted for the gun to fire. You have certainly usable sights. Looks to have about a 3.5 or so inch barrel here, so you have enough barrel for the little 380 to develop quite a bit of velocity. This is your slide release here, and that's what holds it back, like there, and just push it down to release the slide. Of course, here's your safety. That's in the on position. This is in the fire position. And of course, here's a magazine. It has these little holes in it where you can tell how many shells you have remaining in your magazine. And of course, what you do, it just goes in the base like most of the others. And let's go ahead and take a shot with it briefly here. The little gun is accurate. It's easy to shoot well. Of course, you got to push the safety off to pull the slide back. There we go. And let's go ahead and apply our safety. But let's see if we can find that steel plate in our sights there. And there we go. Friends, you're looking at a 9mm on your left, and this is the 380 on your right. You can tell there's not a whole heck of a lot of difference in case length. The diameter is the same, but you see the difference in the case. The case is there. The 380 is just a little bit shorter than the 9. The difference is that the 380 is not nearly as intense a cartridge as a 9mm. A 9 is really a high pressure little cartridge. The 380s are designed to be used in blowback type guns, whereas the 9mm are commonly used in lock breech type guns, such as the Browning type system or the Walther system, as in the Beretta. And the 380s are used in a variety of, shall we say, less expensive handguns, just not as quite as complicated a mechanism there. Now, friends, honestly, the 380 is used in a lot of different applications. There are some very small guns, such as the C-Camp, and AMT also makes a little backup in 380, very small handgun. However, it would not be my first choice as a defensive cartridge. This Beretta is a very nice package. It seems to be very reliable, seems to be pretty accurate, and of course realize we're not talking about 50-yard guns here. We're talking about guns that would primarily be used for defense up close and personal. It also would not be a bad trail gun or pest gun, going back to the capacity of the cartridge. Honestly, I see the 380 as sort of like using a .22 long rifle to defend yourself with, and here's the reason why. With full metal jacket ammunition especially, you've got to, your placement of your hits would be of paramount, extreme importance if you use this as a defensive type gun, because you just don't have the energy, you just don't have the shocking power. That's why I view the core bond as being such an important factor because you do have so much more power in the core bond ammunition, and you have a hollow point that's probably going to expand. But I have a friend who was shot some time ago in a robbery attempt. He was shot in the throat, in fact, with a full metal jacket 380, and the bullet thankfully did not hit anything of utmost importance. It didn't hit his spine or anything like that. It passed on through. Well, he was able, after being shot in the throat, and of course he has a lot of determination, very fine young man, he took a shotgun that they had for defense in the store, and he shot his attacker with that shotgun. And believe me, a double-aught buckshot will change someone's mind about what's happening. But he was able to go on and function, whereas if he had been shot with something like an expanding .357 Magnum, well, he probably wouldn't be with us today. It would have been a much, much more serious injury. So again, bullet placement is of extreme importance, and also your ammunition type. There are some good cartridges out there. The Winchester Silvertip has a pretty good record as far as defense, but to my knowledge, it's nowhere near the power capacity of the core bond, because this core bond hollow point will actually run over 1,050 feet per second out of this little gun. We chronographed it earlier. The advantage is, one, they're small, they're flat as far as the 380 type handguns. This Beretta is, of course, made extremely well. It's easy to shoot rapidly and well. And no, if you're a woman and you're going for your first gun, I don't recommend any semi-automatic. We always recommend the revolvers for new shooters because of simplicity. For instance, if you took this gun and you wanted to shoot it in a hurry, well, you have your safety mechanism. You don't know if one's chambered or not, and you have to cock the hammer if the hammer is at rest. There's just so many things that you have to think about, and if you're under an attack, and really it's terrible we even have to talk about that, but it's true, because the majority of guns like this would be used in defensive purposes. And if you're under attack, you don't want to worry about, say, well, is one loaded or not? Is the safety on or off, whatever. You want to be able to point the gun and pull the trigger and get somebody off of you, make them quit what they're doing, because your very life could be at stake. As far as owning these guns, they're certainly worthwhile. They're fun. Like I said, it would be a nice trail gun, something like that. And in the hands of someone who was accustomed to semi-automatics, who was comfortable in using semi-automatics with the best ammunition available, well, it would certainly do. Any gun at all that would work would be more desirable than fists and sticks and stones, I believe, if you were involved in a knife or a gun type attack, or if you were under attack by someone who had a huge physical advantage over you. So, our Beretta 380, we'll see it one more time in comparison to our revolver. You know, just not much recoil at all. And of course, our SP-101 with a full charge 357, woo, much bigger boom. And let's shoot one of our steel targets out here briefly. See, it took it off. Shoot the same steel target next to it with a 357. See how it looks. See, it just hits the steel plate much, much harder. However, the full charge loads are going to be more intimidating to some people. Shoot one more. Which it certainly does. It's certainly an adequate combination in a very nice little gun. We do appreciate the good folks at Britain's loaning us guns. It's certainly a help to us in our program here. Well, you pays your money and you takes your choice. The Beretta 70S in 380.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Give them a call, 1-800-345-6923, a very inexpensive subscription price. Again, 1-800-345-6923. Subscribe today.
You know, friends, this Gunsight Service pistol, this 45 semi-automatic from Gunsight, is one of the finest handguns that I've ever had the pleasure to shoot. But you know what? Unless I feed it proper ammunition, high-quality ammunition, it's not going to shoot nearly as well. Well, our physical body is the very same way. Unless we have high-quality intake of food and vitamins and minerals, we won't perform to our utmost or our best. And that's where our health club comes into play. Friends, this is one of the great discoveries of my adult life. Realize that our staff is small, but if you call in on our health club line, 1-800-895-7916, leave your name, address, and phone number. We're going to have someone get back to you as soon as possible. Our staff is loaded up, but they're doing the best they can. We have such wonderful products available, things that are available nowhere else, certainly in the industry. So please give our health club a call and, hey, get your body shooting straight again. For health club information, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your name, address, and phone number. Someone will get back to you as soon as possible. Friends, this is such a wonderful thing. Do it for yourselves today. Now, friends, of course, we show all kinds of products, and this is one that is going to be important to a lot of us with hard-kicking handguns. This is a Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum. This is our classic hunter you've seen on the show many times. And one of the neat things about the Smith & Wesson guns are they're not real heavy for what they are. The mechanisms are very strong. Of course, they're extremely high quality. But on the big boomers, of course, I have fitted this gun with a Pachmayr grip. Pachmayr, I guess, pioneered rubber grips on handguns. And those of us who shoot a lot, they really can be hand savers, believe me, with the hard-kicking Magnum-type calibers. Well, let's see something here. And this is a fairly hard-kicking handgun. I have some full charge loads, 240 grain, jacketed hollow points, moving over 1,300 feet per second out of this gun. Let's take a look here for a moment. And believe me, see, it's quite a bit of recoil, and it hits the palm of your hand pretty hard. Now, these guns with wooden grips, to me, are pretty obnoxious, especially in double action rapid fire. So what we did, I'm going to take the cylinder out of this gun and put another bit here in the screwdriver. What we did, we got a decelerator grip from Pachmayr. So let's just install it on the gun right quick. And in fact, whenever you do any sort of maintenance, any sort of cleaning or changing or anything like that, you ought to unload the gun. There's just no sense in working on a gun that is loaded. I mean, there's just no need in even having the potential for an accident. When we're doing anything at all, I repeat, unload the gun. It only takes a moment, takes a second to load it back. Okay, we have our decelerated grip, which looks, in fact, identical to our standard Pachmayr grip. As you can see, the grips are, in fact, the same as far as in outer dimension. But let's see what happens. It's very simple to change these grips on a Smith & Wesson handgun. You just take the screw out of the center of the grip and start to cool off now a little bit. You'll notice we're losing some of our light. Now then, we'll go ahead and put our decelerator grip in place. And you can tell from the way the two materials feel, the decelerator in fact feels a little bit tacky. It's of a different compound, same color, but of a different compound. Now then, now good and tight. And it's a little softer. You can definitely feel the difference. Well, let's put our 344 Magnum bullets we had left here back in the gun. And for demonstration's sake, we'll shoot it one-handed. Let's see how it feels. Oh yeah, you can really tell a difference. Don't know if you saw much difference from recoil-wise, and didn't have that earplug in too good. Yeah, shoot it again. Well, in fact, let's give it a couple of rapid-fire shots there. Oh yeah, it's going to help. A 44 Magnum's a handful anyway, but I tell you what, you can feel the difference. It's a little kinder and gentler to your hand, so this is one that we certainly want to recommend. And those of you that do have the Magnum handguns, if recoil is bothering you, well, you might consider the Packmare Decelerator. It's a good product and something that will be helpful to a lot of folks out there watching. So, all right, it works. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're enjoying our program. My esteemed colleague and I went down this weekend to the Republican State Convention in New Orleans, and Judge, we had a great time, didn't we?
Had a wonderful time, and we nominated a pro-gun candidate if there ever was one.
Absolutely. Of course, that is none other than Woody Jenkins, whom you folks saw on the program here just a few weeks ago. And he'd be a good man to have in the Senate, won't he, Judge?
Yes, he would be, and he received over 90% of the votes at that convention.
So we're extremely pleased about that, and we also want to thank those folks that contributed to Woody's campaign. We were told down there that some of our viewers had sent along a few contributions. We really do appreciate that because Woody's a good man. Speaking of contributions, something I want to do quick. Judge,
it put us way up on the totem pole, too, I want you to know.
It did. Speaking of up on the totem pole, something I need to announce this week. This is a world premiere right here on the Shooting Show. And when we talk about shooting, you know, our good friends at Corbin, and yes, we talk a lot about Corbin because they're very fine people and the ammunition is nothing but superior. We're going to introduce the new 400 Corbin cartridge. Yes, indeed, here on our program. So when you get their 800 number, which is, I'll give it to you briefly, 1-800-626-7266. Give them a call on it. The 400 Corbin is a 45 ACP case, neck down to 40 caliber. And the good news is the performance is outstanding. They're talking about a 135 grain bullet running at 1,450 feet per second, and that's out of a government model. Now, the good news is, I guess we know this unloaded, if you've got a Colt government model, Springfield or whatever, but you have a 1911, all you'll need to change will be the barrel. And we're already talking to our folks out at Gunsight. We're going to have a shooting show 1911. It's in the works now. And we may offer the shooting show 1911 in 400 Corbin caliber. So if you have, the good news is your 45 ACP magazines will work. Everything will function just fine. And it's a similar principle to the 357 SIG, except it's what I think will be a better caliber. It's going to be a 40 caliber. You get outstanding velocities at normal pressure. So it's exciting. They're working on it now. It's going to be available very soon. A couple of manufacturers already talking about chambering for it, and you heard it first here. The new 400 Corbin. If you want information on it, call them 1-800-626-7266 and ask for information on this new cartridge. And I see that as pretty exciting, huh, Judge? It's going to be a great cartridge.
Yeah, no question about it.
It's going to be a little stronger than, say, a full charge 357. It's going to be out of certainly a compact package. My favorite 1911, one of my certainly favorite semi-automatic pistols. So we see this as great, and I think this is one that a lot of us are going to have room for in their gun cabinet at home, and certainly be a nice hunting round. Absolutely be a good hunting round because you have velocity to do it. It's going to be available in weights from 135 grains up to 200 grains as we understand it now. So just give them a call. I think it's exciting. All you need is a barrel for your 1911 and you need some bullets. So anyway, we're back to where we were. Great convention.
Well, not only was it a great convention, Johnny, but also I managed to stay in New Orleans for a couple of extra days and see my son make a closing argument to a jury. First time I've been privileged to do that. He's been admitted to the bar now for some 17 years, and this is the first time I've had the opportunity. He lives in New Orleans, so it's the first time I've had a chance to hear him make a closing argument to a jury. I don't know, it sounded good to me. I'll know better how the jury took it probably later tonight or tomorrow.
Well, in fact, you just got off the plane here this afternoon, so
I got off the plane just
came
in time
straight
to get here, and had to take a commuter plane at that. You know, plane service between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, as far as that goes, between those two cities and Shreveport is almost non-existent. U.S. Air flies commuter planes, and they're not bad. You know, we've gotten spoiled. If it doesn't have two big jet engines, we think that it's a little bitty airplane. Those commuter planes are a lot bigger than the single-engine Bonanza that I fly. So, anyhow, it was a nice trip. And guess what, Johnny?
What?
Sunday, I slept until noon. Now, that's very unusual for me.
Well, sir, that might even be that's definitely a top 5 for you, huh?
Probably. I want to jump on Newt Gingrich. Shame on you, Newt. You canceled a fundraiser for Helen Chenoweth when all she did was not follow what you insisted she vote on. You won anyhow. You won with an overwhelming vote. But then because she did not follow what you ordered her to vote, then you canceled a fundraiser for her in Idaho. Now, that's shameful. Would you rather have a Democrat in that office? Would you rather have a liberal Democrat? A dictatorship of the Republicans is just as bad as a dictatorship of the Democrats, believe me. And there is room, we've always said there's room for diversity in our party. Yes, there is room for diversity in the party, and that means a diversity as far as voting goes, too. Shame on you, and you ought to schedule a special fundraiser for her, because as far as we're concerned, she's one of the best members of Congress there is.
Good for you, Judge. Like you said, a dictatorship on either side is not right. And I think old Newt just kind of had a little shortfall there, a little oversight on his part.
Well, you know, they talk about gridlock in government. Now, really, a certain amount of gridlock in government is good. It keeps government from moving too far, too fast, and limits the amount of damage that government can do. So, really, I like a certain amount of gridlock in government. But I don't like gridlock with an iron fist saying every member of the party has to vote this way. That's wrong. That is wrong.
You know, friends, it's rare in any field of manufacture that one particular company has a clear-cut advantage over the others. Well, in this case, it's Corbin Ammunition, Corbin Bullet Company, because they make the best handgun, long gun, and even some specialty caliber ammunition that's been real hard to get in the past. If you really want your handgun or rifle to perform at their absolute best, you need to find some Corbin ammunition. For information on where you can get Corbin, information on their product line, call them. Corbin Bullet Company, 1-800-626-7266. Again, give them a call. It's a free call, 1-800-626-7266. Trust me on this one. Corbin is the best there is. The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. You know, Carrie, I think it's as important for you ladies to know how to use these firearms as it is for us men. But you know, there's something else. We can have firearms for defense of our homes and certainly for sport, but we also need information.
Yes, I agree. I think the New American Magazine is the best source of information available in this country.
Well, I would certainly agree. The New American Magazine is the truth and nothing but the truth. And friends, if you would like to know what is really going on
in this country and around the world, if you want, in fact, the truth, well, you need to get the New American magazine. So here's how to do it. You can get the New American by calling 1-800-727-TRUE, and those numbers, of course, are 1-800-727-8783. The New American, $22 for a 6-month subscription. It comes twice a month. Now, friends, with your new Shootin' Show subscription, they will also send you a free copy of what the United Nations is bringing to all of us. So this is very important. Subscribe today. You know, friends, in times like these, which indeed are strange times, we certainly need our firearms, but we also need the information about what's really going on. Order today.
If you are a boater or a birder, if you ever carry a camera, Bi-Tote is for you. It is the most comfortable binocular and camera carrier on the market today. And its all-elastic quick change feature makes it possible to switch from one piece of equipment to another without missing a beat. If you think that carrying binoculars or cameras is a pain in the neck, try Bi-Tote. For the first time, your equipment will feel almost weightless, and you'll be free of that annoying swinging and bouncing which is hard on your body as well as the equipment, especially when you're negotiating rough terrain or on a pitching boat. One hand for you, one hand for the boat, and Bi-Tote for your binoculars or camera. They'll be ready for you instantly, held firmly in position. They're always there, not buried in a locker or other out-of-the-way place. And the Bi-Tote is totally adjustable for a custom fit. All necessary adapters and complete instructions are included with your Bi-Tote. How did you ever get along without it?
And speaking of government, we saw, of course, we had Pat Buchanan on presidential candidates that spoke to us on Saturday. You had Alan Keyes, whom is really a wonderful orator, gave one of the great speeches I think any of us ever
He's a
heard.
dynamic orator.
Well, and as really Alan Keyes talks about as conservative as you and I put together, and what's going to surprise people. In fact, I think we're going to run a piece of his speech on the program today. Alan Keyes is black, and there were several blacks at the convention, quite a few in fact, and there are conservative blacks out there. I mean, and Alan Keyes has as good a thought train as far as conservatism goes.
He's got a splendid thought train. The three that were there and who defied the Republican Party, or the whole state of Idaho,
or Iowa,
beg your pardon, Idaho's okay, defied the whole state of Iowa, were Buchanan and Keyes and Graham. The Iowa had wanted all the candidates to sign a pledge that they wouldn't come to the Louisiana caucuses. Now, really, that's kind of silly. This business of who is first in line. Well, what was that whole thing? The Three Stooges used to pull who's on first? That's just about the way it goes.
Well, and we certainly nothing against the good people in Iowa. We have a lot of very fine viewers there. We do appreciate you, but the Republican Party got a little off base there, I think. And
I don't care who goes first.
yeah, what difference does it make?
It doesn't make any difference.
You know?
This business of who's first in line. There are people that stay up all night long to get in the line for some rock concert or for some various other function. And I think that's silly. I really think that's silly.
Well, one of the advantages is since Dole and some of the others didn't come, it gave the spotlight to, we had a couple of thousand people there. This is a pretty serious convention. It did give them a chance to really showcase what they have to say. So it worked out pretty well.
There were good talks. Buchanan was strong. He's probably our strongest pro-gun candidate. Fact is, he is our strongest pro-gun candidate. Keyes was dynamic.
Well, Keyes is also pro-gun.
Yes, and Graham. And Graham is pro-gun, and Graham had to speak after Keyes, and boy, let me tell you, that's a disadvantage for anybody.
But he finished well, you know. Graham finished okay.
He picked up on it and did a real good job, particularly considering the fact that he had to follow Keyes, because Keyes is one kind of speaker, believe me.
I think you're really going to enjoy this. I mean, it's such a shock to hear. We're not accustomed. We're accustomed to seeing black leaders like Jesse Jackson and Louis Farrakhan. Well, we're here to tell you that there are some very fine black people out there that really have some constructive things to say, and I think Alan Keyes is one of the absolute best. Speaking of presidential candidates, Forbes has come out in favor of repeal of the assault gun ban.
Only some of them. Only
Okay.
some of them. I caught that today.
Did? Uh-huh.
That he said he was in favor of repealing the ban on some of the assault
On
weapons.
some, oh, okay.
That's not good enough. Not good enough, Mr. Forbes. Absolutely not good enough.
Yeah.
And he wants to
Yeah.
substitute an instant check for the Brady bill. But of course, the instant check is something that the Brady bill sunsets on anyhow.
Mm-hmm. So it may not be far enough, what you're saying.
Well, Mr. Forbes is from up east, and I don't think people up east, on the average, particularly the politicians, understand this situation about firearms and the American people. They've been sitting up there in those asphalt jungles for too long.
Mm-hmm.
And we met some wonderful people up in Massachusetts, for example.
Absolutely.
But they were in rural Massachusetts.
Mhm.
They weren't in the asphalt jungles of Boston and New York and Philadelphia and Washington. Now, I'm not saying there aren't fine people that live in those places, but the politicians in those places are all anti-gun, very anti-gun. In fact, the senator from Maryland, Senator Chaffee, who's a Republican and who incidentally doesn't toe the the party line.
Maryland and Rhode Island.
Rhode Island, I
Rhode
guess. Yeah, sorry. Every year he introduces a bill to repeal the Second Amendment.
It's crazy.
Uh,
Man's eye was mad.
Now, if the Republican Party can stand that kind of diversity, they can stand the diversity of Helen Chenoweth too. Particularly since all she did was she voted against this business of giving the president another blank check,
Mhm.
another, as one of the candidates put it, another credit card.
Right. And for historical record, ladies and gentlemen, this is not an assault gun that I'm holding. This is a Colt Sporter. It has a basic design similar to an AR-15 or an M16, except in one important difference. It is not a fully automatic gun. It is a magazine-fed, semi-automatic rifle, or as Jeff Cooper would say, carbine. It fires once with one pull of the trigger, and this type gun has been available to the American citizen for, about 100 years.
Well, that gun's completely legal, isn't it?
Absolutely it is.
That is, it's illegal to manufacture and sell now.
Can't be now because you know what it has? It has a longer than, this is a 30-round magazine here. It has a pistol grip, and it also has a flash hider. Now, Judge, you know the combination.
But no bayonet lug.
No, it doesn't have bayonet lug, no. Wonder how many people were bayoneted to death in the United States.
Heavens
in the last
only knows,
50
not
years.
many.
Not many. But somehow having a flash hider and having a pistol grip make it very deadly for some unknown reasons we don't understand, reasons we don't know.
I'll tell you.
And this, of course, long magazine can't make these anymore and sell them to the general public.
There's some funny ideas running around loose in this country. See this little penknife?
Yeah.
How long is it, Johnny?
Oh, the blade's about 1.5 inches.
That's right, about 3 inches long all together.
Yeah, something like that.
Don't let me take this into a courthouse.
Afraid you're gonna penknife somebody?
I don't
to
know.
death?
They think I'm going to start a revolution with a penknife. All I use it for is to keep my fingernails clipped and to open envelopes with.
Or you're saying we've lost perspective? Am I correct?
A lot of perspective, an awful lot of perspective.
Well, you know, friends, we're in the middle now of a voter rebellion, and this is something that has got to go on. We have got to take, our local communities back for the decent people. We've got to take our state governments back, and we've have to take Washington, D.C. back for the majority of the American people, the majority of the American citizens. Don't you agree?
I absolutely agree. And I get insulted about my penknife. Now, really. That's just plain insulting. Or maybe it's the biggest compliment they ever heard, that I could start a war with a penknife. Boy, really.
Might think you're pretty effective there, Judge, huh?
I don't know what they think I'm going to do, throw it?
Well, anyway, I tell you, we certainly have, and we invite everyone to participate in your political convention because, you know, that's where it's at. That's what's going to change things. I mean, the option of changing it politically, changing at the ballot box is so far ahead of any other option.
Go to your political conventions. vote for conservative candidates, particularly vote for conservative candidates that have the right attitude about firearms, and get your neighbors to do the same thing as long as they have the right attitude about firearms. You know, I'm still of the firm opinion that not everybody ought to be encouraged to vote. This business of get out the vote, get out the vote. Doesn't make a difference how you vote, but vote. It does make a difference how you vote. It makes a big difference how you vote. And what's that little essay closing that I like to quote? It was, the wise, the honest, the intelligent should vote. And if you're none of these, then for the love of your country, stay away from the polls.
Now, friends, we're going to look at something that I think is a terrible potential hazard that a lot of you may or may not be familiar with. The other day, someone gave me a couple of shotgun shells, and look at how this shell, someone has taken a knife and cut it about halfway down the shell. And see there aren't supposed to be any cuts on that plastic part of that shotgun shell. And let me tell you what this is about. The explanation was, well, supposedly if you cut the shotgun shell right there and let the top half here separate from the base and head down the barrel, that it would give the shotgun a lot more velocity, a lot more power. Well, friends, let me tell you what, that's one of the silliest things and potentially most dangerous things that I've heard anyone say. You know, let me show you. This shell is bigger than the end of this 12-gauge shotgun barrel. Now see there, there's no way that shell is going to go in. All right, if this part of the shell separates and flies down that barrel, they may have the illusion of more power. You know what though? Pressures are literally going off the scale. Now pressures that gunpowder makes is what causes the shot to be propelled out of the barrel anyway. And let me tell you what, these shells are not designed to be separated and fly down the barrel. And I'll tell you what would happen. You have a chance of literally blowing the gun up, and if it's up here next to your face and this thing blows up, it could get you with it. It could take off the top of your head. So look, if you see a shell that's been cut like this one, well, you really need to discard it, dispose of it, do something with it. Don't you dare shoot it. That's one of the most dangerous things I've ever heard anybody come up with. If you want a solid projectile, just buy a slug. You know, and slugs are available almost everywhere, and they have tremendous power. See, these shotgun shells don't operate at high pressures anyway, nowhere near a Magnum handgun pressures. And the barrels, while they may be high quality, may be great for what they are, they're not designed for double or triple the pressures that they develop. Shooting one of these down the barrel, if you separate the shell there, if you cut it where it'll separate, and the front half of the shell will go down the barrel, is just like shooting a gun with a barrel obstruction. You can ruin a fine firearm, but more important than that, you can ruin yourself by doing something stupid like this. And that's all I'm going to say. So I heard some supposedly a legend in his own mind hunter say, yeah, that'd be a good way. Well, it's not a good way. It's ridiculous. So if you see somebody or you know anybody that has shells like this, if you can't talk them out of it, don't you dare go hunting with them, because eventually they're going to blow up and destroy their gun, and maybe themselves and whoever's standing nearby with it. So under no circumstances should a shell like this be modified or cut so you can have some performance gains. That's ridiculous. I mean, the factories do know something about how to make proper ammunition and how to make proper guns, and they're not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize anyone's safety. Well, that's what that is. That is stupid. So friends, like I said, if you know anybody who's done their shells, tell them that's a no-no. So that's just not right and not so. If they want a solid projectile, tell them to go down and buy some slugs. You know, and that's when I see something like this, it actually makes me angry, because those of us who care about shooting, who care about gun ownership, try so hard to promote proper gun safety, to promote proper gun handling. And having some knucklehead who will modify a shell like that thinking, oh yeah, well, they know better than the factory and the ballistics laboratories and all that, they're just nothing but stupid, and they're dangerous too. So anyway, that's my little statement on that, and we cannot overstress this. These shells are not meant to be modified in such a ridiculous way as this. So there. Now friends, I'm holding a tri-tote that has been assembled, ready to be put on, and I'm also holding a .22 rifle in this case. But if you have a long gun or something you need to carry, even a fishing rod or a bow, you need to have a tri-tote, because it gives you hands-free portability with firearms or whatever else you may need to carry. This is really such a great invention, and let them show you now how it works. Let them tell you about it, and give their 800 number a call and tell them you saw it on the Shooting Show, please. The Tri-Tote.
Get your hands off that gun, bow, or fishing rod. Holding onto your equipment while you're going through the woods or climbing a hill is fatiguing and possibly dangerous. The versatile Tri-Tote all-season carrier is easy to use. You never have to drill a hole in your fine gun stock. And the Tri-Tote can be set up for your specific needs in a jiffy. Just follow the illustrated instructions and free demo video enclosed. There you are, hands-free, yet ready to shoot in an instant. Hunting and fishing have never been more enjoyable. With Tri-Tote, your equipment is secure and your hands are free to support yourself or carry other gear. How did you ever get along without Tri-Tote? Make this year's hunting and fishing the best ever. To order your Tri-Tote at this special TV price, call toll-free 1-800-231-1443. That's 1-800-231-1443.
Shooting Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, we taped the presidential candidates, in fact, taped a good bit of the Republican convention this past weekend. And we'd like to introduce to you Alan Keyes. Alan is a former ambassador. He's also a radio talk show host. And I don't think you're going to see much of what Alan says anywhere else in the country. I don't know how much publicity he's going to get. But Alan is running for president on the Republican ticket. So let's listen to part of his speech now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I've got to tell you, it feels good to be back. Any of you here last year when I came? It's been a very interesting, it's been a very hectic year for me. I'm glad to see that it's also been a good year for Louisiana, though. I was reminded of that the other day. I visited with Governor Foster, and he's one of that new breed of politicians that's starting to come forward now. We're seeing them at work in the Congress of the United States, in the freshman class of Republicans. It's almost enough to destroy my confidence in my bad opinion of politicians. These are folks who don't understand what is the usual way of doing it. They have gotten elected, they've made it clear what it is they believe in, and then they've actually gotten into office. And when they start to act, they remember what it is they're supposed to believe in and who it is they're supposed to represent. And the Republican freshmen have stood firm against the demagoguery of Bill Clinton, insisting that the taxpayers of the United States are finally going to get some respect from their spendthrift government. And Governor Foster is standing firm and insisting that finally we are going to return in this state, as we must return around the country, to the real principles of the civil rights movement, which demanded not special privileges and quotas and benefits, but equal justice for all people. And I've got to say, I'm personally pleased as well to see that there is great promise for the future as well, because another man of similar conviction, who I deeply believe will be giving us the same example, Woody Jenkins, has decided to get into the Senate race. When I was here, now I've got to tell you, I can't stand up here and claim credit for this, but when I was here last time around and we did have occasion to talk, I encouraged him to do that, and I'm so glad that he's doing it. Because we absolutely, looking at the challenges we're faced with right now, I think there is nothing more important than that we should have men and women of principle who are willing to stand by those principles in public office in this country. I think we've come to a crisis in this nation's history when, in fact, the ability to remember and to articulate the great principles of this nation's heart may be the most important and crucial ability of all. The consequences of forgetting who we are before us everywhere we look now. It seems like you can't open the newspaper or watch television or see anything just about without being reminded of the great crisis that we are in. Not a crisis of war, not a crisis of money economics, but a crisis that is nonetheless threatening the future of this country. And you can read that threat in the mirror that is held up to our future, the state and condition of our young generations. When you have 14-year-olds raping 10-year-olds and 15-year-olds killing 17-year-olds, when you have kids, as a survey showed recently, going to their school not as if they were going to learn, but as if they are going to war, then you know that there is something going awfully wrong. You know, a society has got to wake up when it's looking into the face of its future and seeing generations that are now bent, it seems, on self-destruction. And why? Bent on self-destruction because I believe they are no longer getting the courageous leadership, the guidance, the counsel, the discipline, the sense of principle and standards that they ought to get from the generation that should be their leaders, that should be their guide, that should be their elders in spirit and in truth. And nothing represents this more clearly. Nothing represents this more clearly than the president we have sitting in the White House today. A president who has taken the lead, along with his wife Hillary, in standing for everything that tears down the traditional heart, the traditional values, the traditional strength of this nation's life. From the moment he got into office, he stood up to champion those causes that will destroy the sense of moral and sexual responsibility and tear down our family lives, to promote gay rights and condom distribution and everything that he could think of to exemplify before the American people that licentious concept of freedom that is, in fact, destroying our nation. He stands with those people, as I've often said to folks. These folks like Bill Clinton, they stand before you with an offer that you really have to think hard about. On the one hand, they want to give you the condoms. And on the other hand, they want to take away your guns. Now, I want you to think about what this means. There is a serious point in all of this, because at the heart of the condom distribution mentality is the same attitude that is at the heart of the gun control mentality. They look at you and they say, you are not capable of freedom. You cannot control your sexual passions. Here's a mechanical device that will keep you from suffering the consequences of your licentiousness. You cannot control your violent passions, therefore we can't trust you with these dangerous weapons. The government will have to take them away. In each and every case, in both instances, that mentality is based on the same thought. that we are no longer a people capable of self-control, capable of self-discipline, capable of self-government, which is supposed to be the end and aim of this nation's life. I believe that in the election to come, what we have to do as a people is stand up and with one voice and one heart and all our votes reject that doctrine which says that we are no longer to be a free people. We must reclaim our position under the Declaration and under the Constitution of this country. But we've also got to understand that if we're going to do it, it's going to require more than words, because freedom is not an easy discipline. If we want to remain a free people, then we're going to have to accept again the clear understanding of the foundations of freedom. And those foundations set forth when this nation started haven't changed. Some people want us to forget them. Some people are embarrassed to remember them. But they're still the same, and we ignore them at our peril. When the founders started out in this country, they put those great words in the Declaration. Remember them? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And when we hear those words, a lot of people think that means that this government is based on rights. And they've got it partially right, but they don't see to the heart of it, because what that statement says, what it makes clear as the first principle of America's existence, is not that we have rights, but that there is a God who created us and who in that creation endowed us with those rights. And there are some people, when I say that, there are some people, there may even be some people in this crowd who accuse me of bringing religion into politics. I didn't write the Declaration. The Declaration was written by the founders of this country. It was hallowed in the blood of the patriots that fought the revolution. It is steeped in the blood of those who have fought on every battlefield, in every war, in order to vindicate those ideals. And when we return to our nation's principles, we must return to that understanding of our freedom which sees us standing on the common ground of that transcendent authority from which our freedom comes. So I'll tell you outright. The first principle of a Keyes administration. It'll apply in foreign policy, it'll apply in domestic policy, it'll apply everywhere. There is a God, and we are not him. I will not join the Clinton Democrats who worship government as their God. I will not join the Dole Republicans who worship